Carolina Rizzotto.
What's up, guys? I'm Carolina Rizzotto, and welcome to No Ducks Given, the podcast where we talk openly and honestly about the emotional roller coaster of life. Because vulnerability should be seen as a superpower, not a weakness. Today is the first episode ever of No Ducks Given, and I'm so excited to be starting this journey with you guys. I've been thinking about starting a podcast for about 4 to 5 months now, so I'm really glad that we're kicking this off and inspired by ducks. Yes, I love rubber ducks. You know, on social media, everybody knows that I like cows. I have a little segment called Cowism. It's a lot of fun, but I've always really liked rubber ducks as well. It's an obsession I've had since I was a kid, and recently, actually, I was in Brazil, and I discovered why I have this obsession with rubber ducks, which is something that I've been wondering about my whole life. I grew up in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, until I was 18 years old. And when I was a kid, we used to go to farms all the time for family vacation. It's just what we did. It never really crossed my mind that subconsciously I really like ducks because I grew up surrounded by farm animals, you know? So ducks are just one of the many farm animals that I enjoy. I also had a thing for chickens for a while. Actually, fun fact about chickens, I actually can imitate a chicken super well. All right, here goes my best chicken impression. That was kind of surreal. Okay, let's go back a little bit to Brazil. I hadn't been back in Brazil in over 3 years, and that's the longest amount of time I've ever spent away from Brazil. And I started realizing that I've changed so much. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you guys about how moving to a new country or even to a new city will change you forever, and how it can really help you develop different parts of your personality that you didn't even know you had. And I really hope that it helps you gain a bit of a perspective of the amazing transformations that you can go through living in a new country or moving to a new city. So one of the first things that people ask me about moving abroad is, isn't it scary? And I'm like, yeah, it is scary. You know what else is scary? The IRS. The timeline of my living abroad life has been as follows, just so you understand for a quick second. In 2015, I moved to New York City, and then mid-2017, I moved to Los Angeles, and then January 2022, I moved back to New York City. You know, New York City has always been the place that I dream about living in, you know? I remember when I was 14, 15 years old, I would be just in the middle of class, you know, writing about New York and thinking about New York and what I wanted my life to be like. And I didn't really know exactly what it looked like. I didn't even know that this profession that I have now existed, but I knew the feeling that I was pursuing. And it was such a strong feeling. It was just a calling. And I knew that I wanted to professionally figure out who I am in a place where there's opportunity for all kinds of people of all ages to do absolutely anything. And I was like, you know what? I can discover who I am in New York City. And that's the reason that I wanted to move there so badly. And it's the reason that I moved there when I was 18 years old. It's so important for you to have that reasoning in your mind about why you're moving somewhere. I'm moving because of that. Because then when you have tough times, that is going to be so clear in your head that it will keep you going. If you don't have a clear enough intention of why you moved somewhere, then you will more likely give up. For you to put yourself through the discomfort of leaving your hometown, all of the comfort you've ever had, your family, your friends, that requires you being actually pretty intentional about your decisions, which also requires you to actually know yourself pretty well. If you're going to move to a new place and be uncomfortable for no reason, why even bother? So moving to a new place gives you that opportunity to have a really honest relationship with yourself. It's something that you develop with time. Another thing that I love, though, about living abroad is that it really helps you acquire this new level of independence. You have to learn how to do everything by yourself because it's okay, I need to make friends. I will find a way to make friends. I need to make money. I will find a way to make money. I'm feeling lonely. I will find ways to cope with my loneliness. And then it goes back to the self-discovery thing of When I feel lonely, what makes me feel better? What can I do for myself to make myself feel better? To many people, all of this might seem like really scary because you don't have that support system anymore that you had in your hometown. But if you think about it, it's an amazing opportunity for you kind of like to just start over and be whoever you want to be. What is your weakness now becomes your independence later. And independence, once you achieve it, you have it for life. But you got to be committed to the process and to the pain. The pain is going to help you grow. It's uncomfortable, but I love getting out of my comfort zone because what I learned from it, what I gained from it, it's so much bigger than my fear. And I don't want my fear to ever define who I am. Another really interesting part about moving to a new place is that you get to discover yourself in a completely different environment. So for me, like growing up in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I had a total like beach lifestyle. I would oftentimes wake up, go for a jog by the beach, go for a swim. Oh, life was so great. I was actually the girl from Ipanema. Yes, a garota de Ipanema. It was me, okay? Not nearly as nice as, the song, but I was the girl from Ipanema because that's where I lived. Anyway, it was a very different lifestyle compared to what you get here in New York. I mean, New York City is oftentimes considered pretty hostile, but it's so valuable for you to put yourself in a completely different environment because it allows you to explore parts of your personality that you never knew before. How do I adapt to this environment? Is this something that I identify with? What are things about this city that interest me? As you're discovering kind of like the new things that you like doing or what your new lifestyle is in this new place, it's also interesting how you're able to gain social skills because you're literally forced to do it, okay? Like you got no friends, you got no personal life. You need to figure that out, honey. I still have not managed to have like a solid group of friends that I rely on. In the 8 years that I've been living in the US, there's been a constant rotation of friends, to be honest, which is strange to me because in Brazil, I had this really like solid group of friends for many, many years. But at least another social skill that I've gained from this entire experience was I've learned to become more reliable on myself and started working on that relationship with myself and really developing that friendship. That friendship is high priority. I don't know. I feel like I focused a long time on the external and trying to make friends. At this point, I still make an effort. I still try, but I have to say I try way less because at this point, if it doesn't flow, it doesn't flow. It doesn't stop being uncomfortable meeting new people, but it does get a little easier. You kind of like take the taboo out of it, of approaching a stranger. You do feel powerful in the sense that it's like, if I want to go talk to that person, I'm going to go talk to that person. And I'm not embarrassed about it. My best friend today, I met her because of some other strangers that I met at a bar. So it's totally worth it. And she's definitely someone that I rely on heavily here in New York now. If it wasn't for her, I would be like going insane probably. We all need that one person, right? But it's still, really powerful. Moving to a new place, developing these social skills, dealing with the discomfort of not having friends, or dealing with discovering yourself within these new friends. As you make new friends, they will be bringing something new to the table because they're new. They're new people in your life. And so you're like, who am I exposed to these person's values? Who am I really outside of my home environment? So as you can tell at this point, moving to a new country or moving to a new city, it's like an ongoing process of self-discovery, and it has so many layers to it. You naturally just have to become your biggest support system, your best friend. And that's how it should be, because we shouldn't be emotionally dependent on people and on situations. Life is freaking unpredictable. I wish it wasn't so much sometimes, but I think it's also just what makes it fun. And we kind of have to embrace it. Becoming your best friend is the best thing that I think you get out of moving to a new place. You need to learn to provide for yourself in every single level. Why would you deny yourself that experience? Just because it's scary? That's not good enough of a reason. I think the more we understand our fears and our triggers and our insecurities, the stronger we become for ourselves. Moving to a new place gives you an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone and face fears that you have and other fears that you didn't even know you had. Consequently, that gives us an amount of confidence that will allow us to actually follow the path that's meant for us. As you start facing your fears and discovering like these new parts of who you are, you naturally just become more fearless. Things stop scaring you with time. I don't really have anything against the pain because I know that the pain is just a sign that there's something bothering me and something that needs to be fixed. So I'm like, okay, what needs to be fixed? What can I do to make myself feel better? And so I think that's self-discovery. And sometimes pain is just about sitting with it and just being like, okay, I feel pain. This is uncomfortable. It'll pass. And you just keep going. And then eventually that thing that used to bother you doesn't bother you anymore. I'm just grateful for it all. I'm grateful for the amount of fears that I've faced. And when you're living abroad, especially, you just have so much at stake. Like, why am I here? Why am I away from my entire family right now? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this huge level of discomfort? That requires a massive amount of self-discovery because you ask yourself that over and over and over again. And I always tell people that I've had a good amount of identity crisis. That's because sometimes I make a move in my life and I'm like, but why did I do that? I don't really understand. Like moving to LA. I was so desperate. I did not want to move there. But there was this bigger reason. I had a great job there that I was actually really excited about at the time, which was helping me grow a lot professionally. But I was like, so what? I have this job. What's the point? What's the purpose behind it? That's not going to be defined by something external. That is completely internal. And that's what was so hard for me in LA because it took me such a long time to figure that out. Eventually, I remember I had a conversation with my boss at the time who kind of became a mentor. I remember that he talked about the concept of ambition. And I was like, wait a second. I'm here in LA, completely uncomfortable, depressed, lonely, doing this, yes, awesome job, but kind of feeling miserable anyway. Like I'm doing all these things because I'm ambitious, because I have professional goals that I want to achieve. And it takes me feeling discomfort in all of these aspects of my life right now so I can thrive in this really big one. It took me facing many fears at the same time, many of my biggest fears in pursuit of my professional ambitions. But at least when I had that clear in my mind of like, I'm doing this because I'm an ambitious person. And as an ambitious person, I don't ever want to feel like my weaknesses and my fears are controlling me. So all of this needs to be taken care of. And the way for me to take care of it is to face it and to sit with it and be miserable in this situation until I'm actually comfortable with it. But I think that discomfort makes you better. I dealt with loneliness. I dealt with not having friends. I dealt with betrayal. I dealt with an abusive work environment. Of course, I had many positive experiences about it, but the pain was such a huge highlight of that experience. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you. Going through that pain, it really helped me because now I look at everything that happened and I'm like, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did my best. I learned so much from it. Those opportunities to face my fears, they have made me into the person that I wanted to become. It's true. Moving abroad, moving to a new city, it's going to be painful and it's going to be great. You know, there's so many amazing adventures that you can have out of it. You learn how to embrace life and spontaneity a little bit more. Because you don't have friends sometimes, you end up doing things you've never done before, going to new bars or having new experiences. It's just wonderful. If you just release yourself to the experience and to the moment, you can find out so much about letting go. And you can also just discover things that you didn't even know existed, which then you're like, you know what? Wait, that's something I really want to do again. Or, that's something I never want to do again. It took me many times of clubbing to learn that I don't like clubbing, for example. But I tried because that's what everybody was doing. I was like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to go to a club tonight. Or there's the time where you're like, I'm going to drink so much until I fall. And then, no, not really. That's not really who I am. But I tried. I drank for a little while, had fun with it. But now it's like, I'm having lots of water. That's what I've been doing. Hydration is key for life. If you have the chance to move to a new place, and the reason that you don't want to go there is because you're scared, then take away that reason and give me another one. Because fear should not be the key decision maker in your life. Anxiety shouldn't either. You know, I started reflecting on it, and anxiety is just a way that fear is expressed. And that made me kind of depressed, to be honest, because I was like making decisions because I was anxious. And I was like, oh shit, like that's like the same thing. So we're working on that right now. Anyway, this is crazy. We talked about a lot here today, and I think the conclusion is moving abroad, yes, it will absolutely change you. It will change everything about you if you allow yourself to. Don't be attached to who you were. Throw yourself into this new experience. Be great at it, suck at it, make mistakes, take things back, start friendships, end them. I don't know, do everything. Don't let fear control you. Go out there, go face it. Of course, don't put yourself in situations of danger. That's not what I'm saying. You must face your insecurities so you find out, who am I outside of them? How I would behave if I wasn't feeling insecure. What would I like doing on my time off if I wasn't going to the same bar that I go to every weekend? What would I do on my time off if I don't have the beach? That's one that I've struggled with. I'm so spoiled. I learned about park culture here. I still don't get it. People are always getting a tan in Central Park. Why are people tanning in a park if there's nowhere to swim on after? Just a little depressing to me personally. Anyway, this was the first episode of No Ducks Given. Every Monday, a new episode here for you to start off the week giving no ducks and embracing yourself a little bit more today than you did yesterday. Give this a follow, share it with your friends, review the podcast. That helps it get visibility. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Carolina Rizzotto, and this was No Ducks Given, the podcast. I'll see you next week.